Yes, people. So I want to talk about how non-league managers coach to save their jobs, not to develop players. Part one. Now, let me just put it out there. This is not for all non-league coaches. This is for the 95% of them. And I can say that because I've been in around the industry and I've seen how some managers, how they set up games, and I get it and I understand why. But end of the day, this is why we are unable to produce Bukayo Saka's on their regular basis. And when we do produce one, we get excited. I like the time when Jack Wilshere came through at Arsenal, we was overhyping him up in the media. And when Pep was asked a question about him, he said, listen, we've got hundreds of Jack Wilsheres in the Barcelona B. And they do. People said, oh no, they don't. They did. But you got to understand the team that was ahead of them, or players that was ahead of them, was Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets, etc. But there was loads of ballers inside that academy, which was Thiago, who is currently at Liverpool, and many more other ballers as well. Sergio Roberto, I believe, and the list goes on of how much players was in that B side that couldn't get in. So I want to talk about the gap between the Premier League and non-league style of play and managerial focus, and this will help you to understand how you need to position yourself as a player before you sign in with a club or when you're going to sign with a club. And yes, you can argue that there's more leagues in England, but in some countries, but in Spain, there's loads of leagues, in the Troika division, etc., to spread across. But yeah, when it comes to the Premier League football itself, all the way down to, I believe, League One, there's a standard of football which you can see being played. When it goes below that, it's not really that much difference in terms of the style of football. League Two conference football is basically the same. National League South and North, its standard has dropped, and it's kind of more like Ryman Premier, Ryman North and Central. They're all the same, along with combined county. There isn't really that much difference. The difference when the football changes from non-league levels when you get to about National League Prem, South and North, they're basically the same as Ryman Premier. Just the players are a little more fitter because you've got boys coming from academy football, so everything's a little bit slightly more cleaner, but there's not that much difference. So let me go into my case in point, which is the issue. The issue is that managers don't do the extras in order to cause players to start developing the football IQ that it takes to be able to play at the higher level of football. You won't see a 25-year-old, 26-year-old jump from a Ryman North who's got the technical ability but won't be able to play in a League Two or League One, not because of experience but because of tactical understanding. It's more than enough just to come in and be technical. It's about decision making, how to play in the systems. Do you understand certain things? So for example, non-league managers are required to teach in terms of game cycling from defense, transition to attack and transition to defense, which they do very basically. The vast majority do. But because the lifespan of a manager in non-league is so low, they're not going to teach this because they don't have time. So they're not going to go into details in attacking phases, i.e. midfielders progression, final third, penetration and finishing, counter-attacking and build-up play. Now, honestly, out of those four that I mentioned, you probably guess only two of the four is what most managers focus on in training. Because remember, they only train twice a week. And I want to talk about that in another video. Okay, so they only focus two of the four. The two that they focus on is final third, penetration and finishing, and counter-attacking. Those are the two. When it comes to build-up play and midfielders progression, there's very little game knowledge, and that's why players struggle to jump from there to go to pro. And why is it very slim? And when we do see people like Vardy, etc., we haven't seen, there's loads of players technically gifted to play in professional leagues, but because they don't have this part of the game, they can't slot into most teams. They can't fit systems. They can't play in it because it's like their IQ is low. So in other words, they're playing football without understanding, and that's an issue when you go higher up. And I can only speak this from experience, coming from Tower Hamlets and then jumping to play in Spain, and how far off IQ I was when I was playing there. You understand? So This is the issue. You know, I'm not talking about what I'm seeing. This is for me as a player. I was very fast, very technical. You know, I was quick, strong. Went over there, didn't understand nothing about build-up playing. Obviously, I see it on football, but how do you position yourself off the ball? There's a lot of details that get involved in it. Next, you're looking at these 7, or should I say 6 phases that I was taught in Spain that you will see in higher level of football in most of the best clubs in the world, from Arsenal, City, etc. And those go from building of the attack, the control of the tempo, dominate of possession, fluid progression, penetration, and finishing, all the way from the back to the front. There is these 6 stages that you can see, and every player understands these 6 phases. So the issue is with the non-league level is that coaches who are English based do not sing the same song sheet of those at a high level. They don't. They're all two different values of football. The difference is at grassroots level in Spain, Germany, Italy, is that they all sing for the same song sheet but different levels of ability. In England, we have all these different leagues, and every manager and every ethos of every manager is different, and I get that, but the fundamentals of the style of play, of game understanding of football, changes from when you're looking at Arsenal down to Croydon Athletic, for example. I'm not basing it on ability. You can say, oh well, the ability of players are different. Listen, you can go to Spain, and the identity of how the game should be played in the lowest league, which I've gone down, not in the just below the Treca division, is the same when I went to Segunda B in El Cocon. The standard of the style of play, the fundamentals is all the same. Nothing changes. The only thing that changes is the stability of the players, so therefore things are expected to be a lot more sharper and quicker. But at non-league level, this is the issue. The issue is the emphasis on speed, fitness in non-league. Speed and fitness and size. These 3. Physical. Out of the 4 corners of the DNA, the main focus at non-league level is physical. And when you go up higher, you start touching in different other components. Social, technical, mental, and physical. And I'm telling you, at the high level, physical is at its base. It's the lowest out of the 4. When I mean lowest at the 4, you look at someone like Fabio Vieira at Arsenal. Physically, speed-wise, strength-wise, he will not get into most non-league club because of his size. But technically and mentally and socially, he is at a high level of football to be able to play in the Premier League. I know a guy who couldn't get into Dorking because of his size, but then he signed for Leganes in Spain. This is what I'm talking about. There's a guy who went to another club in conference. Manager didn't like him. He ended up signing for a team in Romania, first team, first prep in the Premier League in Romania. So this is where I'm talking about us in England producing technical players who are not able to do it because the vast majority of players who are playing, which is non-league football, are being educated by managers who don't want to teach them the game and develop them in all these 6 phases, and to include every type of player and to have a system that reflects how it's played at the Premier League level. And so I want to talk more on part 2, but for part 1, let me know what you say. Because for me personally, these grassroots coaches as well, which I want to get into, they need better now. Especially these ones that are charging parents £300 whatever a month. These ones are jokers, because the majority of them are getting the most of the talent pool, and the talent pool that they're getting, they're not doing nothing with it other than charging the parents a lot of money for kit and making them feel like they're part of the team. But the basics that they're not being taught, it's not being shown. And if you go to a pre-academy or academy, at a Cat 1 academy, you see what they're teaching the players completely different from the grassroots. Now you can argue, say, well, they don't have the information knowledge. Well, this is where the FA has to put a bill out and say these are the fundamentals that need to be seen in every session, or this is the style of football that we must be producing, or the style of plays that we should be producing, i.e. in terms of the style of football we're going to play, like this. And so if a FA analysis, whatever technical director went around to see any club in non-league, he should be able to see that we are playing in a certain way. But yes, we can mix it up and go long, etc. But the emphasis is in playing football. And yes, you can say, oh, well, we're not copying other countries. But listen, most English players can't go overseas and play in Germany and Spain because we're just not technically sharp enough and mentally, psychologically, in terms of technical understanding of the game, not at their level. So let me know what you think.